Agreed. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. This is the Contractor Compass podcast. This is episode 28. We've got the crew back here together. We had a special guest last week, but 2 weeks ago when we were last on. If you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go back and listen. A lot of golden nuggets there. But a couple weeks back, me and Jason were on, and we were just chatting about navigating business through this election year, what it means for people, what people are experiencing, what customer buying intention looks like, all that good stuff. Now, with the election being over, and Trump being in office, which I know every one of us on this podcast was, of course, voted for Trump. If you own a business, you probably did. If you don't like Trump and you don't like listening to us talk about it, get the hell off our podcast.
That's it.
Anyway, with that being said, I figured we'd chat a little bit about like what we think's going to happen. You know, to be really honest with you, from my standpoint, I'm just excited to see buying intention hopefully come back to where it should be, not only for us as a business, but for our partners as contractors.
Lower prime rates are coming. That means lower finance cost.
Yeah, how's that look, Tom, on that front? What's everything look like in the finance world?
Well, they've already dropped it 75 bips, which is 3/4 of a point. They did a half a point ratchet and then another 25% ratchet. They're potentially, I would expect to see at least another point next year, if not more. I mean, that's going to have a huge effect on not only consumer finance cost, but also like home mortgages, which is a big indicator of driving a home improvement business of people buying new houses and they want to do new things to it, a new AC, a new plumbing, new roof, whatever. So, I mean, that alone, the federal rate has a huge impact on buyer activity.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's one of the biggest things if you're a business and you have a new construction department, right? A lot of them have been getting, honestly, it's been a lot of hills and valleys. And a lot of the valleys are kind of been lingered on just because everybody's very unsure about what was happening with the rates. And when those rates aren't, doing well, builders don't want to put up new homes, right? Because they're just going to sit. And that's the problem. So a lot of builders stopped building for a minute. I mean, not only the fact that material costs was going through the roof because of, everything else that was going on in the economy. So now what it is the immediate, I'd say, atmosphere has changed. I can tell just from one of my clients, the response from builders now calling in is like, hey, listen, we're going to get going. We're going to start moving on these 7 houses. Another one calls in, hey, we're going to get moving. We're going to start moving on these 10 houses. Are you guys ready? Because everybody had pretty much put everything on hold. So, I mean, I don't care which way you lean, but I can tell you this, the way the economy leans is the direction we're going. And if it would have went the other direction, we would have saw a hard stop to a lot of different things. Even projects that I was talking about doing, I was putting on hold until I knew what was going to happen.
Correct.
Because it's just, we all know, right? That was the one best thing about this election was that we all had 4 years of experience with each. And we knew this is the first time we got to do that. We knew what each one was looking for. So if you're a person and your views and your values were X, Y, and Z because they don't believe in X and Y, right? Then, or just X and Y. You know what I'm saying? Then you wanted to stay in that area because that was your priority. But if your priorities was economy, getting things moving, getting a better life for your family, your children, building businesses, building America back better to where we're going to making it great again, obviously is the whole slogan, then obviously you lean in this direction. And the response from not only Wall Street all the way to small businesses
that was crazy.
Has been huge. So I will preface it with this and say, I mean, we all obviously don't, count the chickens till they hatch, right? And
absolutely.
When we have based on past results, we're expecting those chickens to hatch. Unless we hit World War III, and then we're gonna have a problem. So when we're sitting here authorizing long-range missiles to drop into a country, and that country is literally saying we're gonna nuke people if this happens, we're on the precipice of something that's still a little bit shaky, and unless something, and I'm not trying to be over the top on this, but it's just what was happening. And the comment was made, don't do it. It was held off. It was paused. And now it almost seems like it's deliberately trying to destroy as much as it possibly can and get as much going as possibly can until that point. So the same thing happened with the Afghan war, right? You got to remember that. They got us so deep into that before Trump took over that it was a nightmare to try to back out of that. So they're doing the same thing here, trying to keep this, the deep state's trying to keep, obviously, the war going bigger, stronger. And if they really continue that over there, we're dropping those over, we might have a big cleanup on our hands, because war drives prices on everything. So, and we know that from the Great Depression all the way till now. So that's gonna be a thing. I mean, just keep your eye on that. Keep your ear to the ground on that. That's obviously a big thing that just hit the news last night. Nobody was really expecting for the Yahoo to really start firing those off and sending them over deep into Russia. But now that he has, and it's American missiles that he's actually fired over there, we're now implicated into this war, and it could spell trouble on something that could have easily been a peace talk. But people are petty.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We won't know until we know, type of deal.
Yep. So that'll be it. So from my standpoint, I can tell you right now, right now, currently as it stands, the market's still responding really good. Builders are responding really good. Homeowners are now saying, okay, they're kind of getting that side. You could kind of feel that weight off the shoulders of a lot of people. We have people calling us up about going out and installing units now that had been holding off on their estimates for a minute, right? Because they didn't know. And now they're like, okay, we're going to be all right. I've had people in our business already, due to some shifts within taxation and other things that are trying to prep for this, already seeing a $200 bump in their paychecks a week. So things like that are going to play out, and then that's where people are going to start definitely opening their wallets a little bit more, or being more apt to spending the extra money, because they're not hoping the floor falls off from underneath them.
Correct. Yeah, hopefully just across the board we can see a little bit of a bull run across all businesses, right? I mean, it'd be, like I said, the biggest thing from my side, the thing that I'm most interested to see is just a buyer intention for us and for our clients, and people feeling that they can be aggressive with their budget, and because a lot of people are just waiting. A lot of people are just waiting for, and there is still, obviously, we need to get through like the next couple months here, right? There's still time on the clock, but I think it's going to be all good things. I think there could be there, I'm sure there's things that will be done that maybe, that's that we can't really speak to, that could affect things, but I don't know. It's
I can tell you. So let's say on the side that the plans that have come out and the cabinets that have been filled, right? When you're talking about Doge and things like that, and we're talking about making our government efficient again, right? Where they're going to cut the spending. That is going to open up the door for a lot of different avenues for companies to grow and other programs to step in place of that can actually assist and help Americans. Right now, a lot of people don't understand that. Well, actually, a lot of people do understand, and that's the reason why they spoke the way they did. Was
correct.
Everything has been being dumped not into Americans' pockets, but elsewhere. And unfortunately, it's now going to get returned back to the American people. But I think it's going to be 100-fold better than what it was even before. Once we can clean out a lot of this wasteful spending that our country has seen, it's all going to snowball, because then it's going to come down to them looking into the Federal Reserve. Right. We have to start to take a peek into that. We're gonna have to start cutting the trillions of dollars in debt that we have there, because we can create programs that can go back into the pockets of small business owners. Hell, I know we homeschool our children. We've already received notifications. Obviously, we're on all kinds of things that have to do with Trump, but notifications of the $10,000 credit that you can actually now get as homeschooling your children. I mean, that's savings to every single that's your customer. You don't know your customer situation, but they're already going in the direction of helping families and assisting them in ways that make sense, right? Hey, you want to homeschool, you want to have school choice, you can do this. Here's a little bit of extra money to help you along that way to do that. But yet we're going to cut the spending in areas of, hell, we're spending $5 billion on trying to figure out why a monkey is transgender. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Right? So I think none of that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah,
all that money funnels back to your customer, right, and then your customer can now spend a little extra money on their home projects, it's a win-win for the American businesses.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I agree. And
I use the word optimistic. I believe that that's the
Yes.
general feel of the country is that they're
Yeah.
optimistic. Like we're going to be okay. We're not. It's going to take a minute, but
Yeah.
we're going to be okay. I'm optimistic about the future, and so I'm gonna put that new HVAC system in my house because I feel optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
agree
think of-
100%.
What about the cap? The cap on credit cards, 10%.
Yep.
Hell, people get smashed at 25%. They
30.
can't even pay their bills, 30%
Yeah.
even at times. So I know, and I'm not going to name the name of the bank, but we use one,
terrifying.
and it's not really a financing program. It's more of a credit card. And they're smacked with these 20-something, 26.9% interest rates. Imagine if you get a cap at 10%, how much money that saves a family in general. Taking back taxes, rolling back taxes. They ain't even talking about rolling back federal taxes, right? And using tariffs. Oh my gosh, that's a $30,000 savings for some people.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and wasn't there talk about, and this may be a little bit what you were just saying, Jace, but isn't there talk about bringing some tax down for businesses like 15%? It was like 20 or 30 something, and then they brought it to 21 last time he was in office, and now he's looking at bringing it to 15 if they manufacture in country.
Exactly. Yep. So that was one where they had already gotten it low. Yep. To 20. I think it was 20.
Was it 21?
21 or 25%.
Okay.
But now they're talking about getting it down to 15 or 10%.
Yeah.
And again, which would be the savings once again. But you got to think too, a lot of homes don't have, people are struggling to find work. I know that the jobs reports was completely fabricated. We all know that. We found that out when 800,000 jobs disappeared and like, where the hell they go? Oh, what's our bad? That was an accounting error. What?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now when some of these things take place, we start getting some of the migrants out, and we can now get our Americans back to work and actually start building manufacturing jobs and everything back here. And businesses can get the incentives to start hiring people back in instead of saying, hey, listen, you got to pay your guy $30 an hour at a non-skilled level. And you're eliminating these businesses or trying to tax them on what we were talking about. What was it? Unrealized capital gains. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
that's like
that's
bananas.
ridiculous.
So it's gonna, again, businesses will save money on their front. We'll hopefully start saving money because Trump is all about the tax holes and everything like that and the loopholes that can go through that.
Correct.
So he's going to exploit them as much as possible, which is fine because it's there for a reason. But I think we're going to see so many different things that's going to snowball from this, where just in general at the base level, your middle class is going to come back. The middle class has been wiped out, and I think the middle class is going to come back. And guess who buys? The middle class is the ones who are buying all the time. So that's where we're going to, as small businesses, we're going to start to see that big turn. And we're not going to have to, it's not going to be you're competing for lowest price no more. People are going to go back to buying quality. And I think that's where it's going to matter, because a lot of people have focused
that's
on
actually interesting. That little point right there, that's I think there's something to be said about that just right there is price shopping customers just for that standpoint, or just just to try and save. Because everything's tight, and you have some of these companies. I mean, we've worked with a lot of them. Actually, this is a great point, Jason. Recently, we have had some, especially in the insulation space, which is interesting. We have worked with some partners who are priced out with almost every customer they go talk to.
Exactly.
And it's like, and they're good companies, and it's like they're like, we cannot do it any less than this.
No, because this model's been based around quality.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, we can't. And I'm like, from my standpoint, I'm like, damn, what else can I can't do a whole lot of. I can just get you in front of the homeowner.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's actually a super interesting point as well. To make note of is if you have felt you've been priced out, you can hopefully start to see that come back in those customers that are really looking to pay for a job well done.
And then back to someone like you, Colton, to be able to go in and now market to quality back again, because I mean, you can speak to this better than anybody. That probably hasn't been imagine if you run 2 ads and you're running campaigns, one's quality, one's price.
I already know what you're going to say.
You're going to get hit on price more than you are quality any day 100%. Of the week. Yeah. So
people
no
and
such
customers.
thing. You're not running. Throw a variable speed system up that's going to save you some, a couple percentages on utility costs, and then throw a $2,500 rebate stacked on federal tax credits and 0% for 60 months, and tell me what fucking ad does better.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what it is, right? It's all about the savings because everybody has sacrificed at some level. Some homeowners sacrifice obviously quality for price, and they're okay with that because they knew they had to, but they weren't comfortable with it because then they're that nightmare customer that you get if you've been that business where, and we've had them, right? And we're like, listen, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to price match, and then you find out it's the customer who demands a premium product, but they needed to price cut, and you're trying to match where they were at, but they're that premium customer, and that's not a match made in heaven at all. So,
No.
and then you want like 24 or 36 months same as cash on top of that.
oh yeah, I mean it's the list is endless when it turns into that. So premium customers need to stay with premium companies that provide that quality because that's what you're going to get, is that quality, but you're going to pay premium price because you're going to get that quality service. If you want Chuck in the truck, you're going to get Chuck in the truck service, and you need to understand that as a customer. So you can't have the best of both worlds because I promise you and the problem is, this is where it gets a little interesting though. A lot of companies have cut corners or have tried to price match to just keep their workers working through this time. So a lot of these businesses now have to get that mind and shift it back to, hey,
Let's
I
provide
know
the
our
best thing
worth.
possible.
That's it. We know our worth. This is our customer. This is our base. We need to overlook and pass this. And you can do that once you get, and it'll take a little bit. It'll take about a good 6 months to get
the
that
old
back.
saying is price, quality, or service. Pick any two.
Yeah.
There you go.
You get all three.
Yeah.
You only get two of those.
Yep.
Yep.
That's it. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting, man, to see how the next 6 months unfold. And but I like the direction where it's going right now. I feel confident in it. My wife and I mean, even just in our family, we've been kind of rejuvenized as far as that. I think right now Americans are going back to being able to dream again, and they haven't been able to do that for the last 4 years. Because it's always been very kind of sticky, and I could be over exaggerating, but at least in my household, I can tell you that was kind of thing.
I think that I think that you're right. And I think especially the people that we're talking to and the people that we are in this podcast, right? It's like we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners, we're doing things, right? We're trying to create things, right? And it's it becomes, you don't ever lose that even when we've gone through the last 4 years, but it's like you feel like you're not everything's fighting against you so much.
That's it.
And I think just that little bit. I mean, I talked to a lot of guys here. I mean, how long has it been since the election? Not long.
Right, not long at all.
I've talked to a lot of owners that are like, we're doubling down, we're buying, we're starting new locations, like this, we're going. Like, this is the time, right? And I'm like, yeah.
It is, exactly. A lot of people likened it to what was it, the internet or the stock market of 2000 is what I heard on a couple of programs, and I was like, golly, man, that's the motivation we need back, right? And you can see it though, because in 2016 nobody knew what we were going to get. 2024 is completely different. Everybody knows what we're going to get, and you can actually see how contagious it is. It's all over different sports networks. I mean, it's everywhere now. As far as everybody saying, you know what? Yeah, we're going to go ahead and put our country first again. We're okay with this agenda now moving forward, and we actually truly believe as patriots that we can be the best country once again. And we always have been, but that American dream was slipping really fast. And we want to hold that, right? It's not just for us as Americans who were born and raised here. We want people to come to our country to be able to, there's got to be somewhere in the world that you can go to that's better than the place you're coming from. Now, we're fortunate because we were born and raised here, but there's other people that's their life mission, is that, man, can I get out of here and make it to America and have that dream? And
100%.
when we started seeing our top leaders just trash that down, and almost strip that away from, it wasn't just stripping away from the American people, stripping that away from the world. And now we can be back to being that beacon again. And I think you can feel that.
It's actually kind of interesting, not to, and like I said, we can kind of go wherever we want with this conversation, but it's it's kind of interesting because I think that, if you watch the way that the election played out, right? And there's a thing going around that said, and no matter what you think or believe when you're listening to this, but it was like there's not blue states. There's a bunch of big blue cities that are trying to tell us, how to think or what to do or whatever. And whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. But it's kind of funny because I feel like the last 4 years, the only thing that I'd see on social, like TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, not necessarily Twitter, but all those other platforms, is like if something would go crazy viral, it wouldn't necessarily be anything positive that I agreed with, right? It would, and since the election has been over, now I'm seeing, like, I'll give you an example just from my life, some things that I see, things that I watch. Just for example, like the John Jones fight the other day that President Trump was at, and like with Joe Rogan and with Elon, and Jones does the Trump dance at the end of like just things like that I've seen like go viral and it's funny, and it's not really political one way or the other, but it's like it's just something to laugh about. That's not I feel like I didn't see any of that the last 4 years.
And you didn't see it in 2016 either, because the culture, this is that group think, right? The group think back then was bad orange man. And there was a very there was a very select few that actually stood out.
Don't be talking too much shit, okay? That is Tom's doppelganger.
That's it. That's awesome. That sounds like what?
It was interesting you said that, because Hulk Hogan was on Fox News last night, and the Ingram angle, and was saying that before now he was nervous about saying he was a Trumper. And he's like, after he got shot and this and that, he's like, screw it. And Ingram asked him, why would you be scared? You're Hulk Hogan. You're not scared of anything. It's like, well, I sell merchandise. I have clients. I don't want to exclude anybody. That's what we're so worried about in this country, about hurting somebody's feelings, is supposed to stand for something or fall for anything.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a problem with cancel culture. 100%. And that, so I'll just be honest, that's never going to go away. Because it's the power is with the people, and we want to keep that, right? But the problem was, it was the culture, and it was a group thing. There was a really big push to, like I said, have the orange man be bad, and everybody, and a lot of people jumped on that train, and they believed it. Funny. And then after this whole cycle, they played their hand too much. They overplayed their hand. And a lot of people woke up, and they're going to call this is something in the history we're going to look back on, and it's going to be the Great Awakening. And a lot of people started really waking up, saying, hold on, wait a second. As you can see now, right, everybody talks about they used to call him, Hitler and all these other things, and a threat to democracy. But now
hold on, Jace. I can't hear you. Everybody take a quick hiatus here. Jason's off the air. He's laughing, but I can't hear him. You can rejoin if you need to, Jace.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, there you go. My damn AirPods just died.
Anyway, you were saying.
So the thing was, is even being brought on like the Morning Joe and things like that, or not even brought on that, but they met with him, right?
Staunch anti-Trumpers. The culture is shifting, and when that culture has shifted, and this goes back again to the Federal Reserve, because you got to understand, cancel culture happens, or that group think happens to the highest levels. It happens in the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, happens into big, huge CEO companies, how they're implementing DEI programs. This happens all the way at the top. So when the culture shifted now, which it happened very fast this year, it went from military DEI, CEOs, DEIs, big old corporates having all that. And then you got our Federal Reserve that was being kind of managed. I know they're not even part of the government, but they are being influenced at some level. Everybody knows that you got to be under a rock if you don't believe so. But now that shifted and everything's now over onto this side, and the culture, you got NFL players doing it, UFC fighters doing the dance. You got everybody in their right mind doing this. Did we shift back over to my AirPods?
No, you're good. I mean, I can still hear you.
Oh, okay.
You can put it back in if you want. Try.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So once everything now shifted over to the culture, this is gonna be a trickle down effect, right? This is that ripple effect that takes place, because when culture shifts the way it has shifted in the awakening, now it's leaning to, we had to shift, obviously go to the left. It didn't work out too well. Businesses got nervous. Now shifting over to the right. Everybody's seen that everywhere. You got, like I said, celebrities coming out talking, but you're not even talking about celebrities. I mean, because that whole thing got exposed in itself. So
yeah, that's true.
now you're shifting over to the American people themselves, the boots on the ground, the middle class families, the HVAC workers, the insulation companies, the mechanics, the plumbers. These are the people that their voice was finally heard through this process. And when you do it in such numbers that we have seen across America, now you have even the lower income people who spoke up and said enough is enough, which used to be middle class people, right? Now they're saying, wow, we do make an impact. We do have influence in the direction of our country. So this is so empowering to, I think, a lot of people all the way through.
To that point, and we're getting kind of more into politics than we are into small business, but that doesn't matter. This is a good point that you make, because you talk about people being involved and thinking that they make a difference. I mean, I'm 27, right? So when I especially when I graduated high school, I mean, we've been, you know, we haven't, I remember 2008, 2009, whatever. I was younger, right? But we didn't really know. I just remember the price of gas was high, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't really know, right?
Right.
And everything was fine, right? You're not in the workforce yet. I mean, not fully anyways, right? And I specifically remember myself, obviously this was 12 years ago, thinking that I don't really think my vote does make a difference.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously I wasn't in business at all and I didn't understand anything, but like, I remember thinking that, like, and I'm believing it. I'm like, it's all rigged. It doesn't make a difference anyway.
Right.
Right. That was my thought process.
That was it. That was me too.
And it's so when the news stations and everybody's talking about the young male vote, or if it's just, if it's the young women too as well. But I think just with the steps that Trump did take and getting on podcasts and even like, especially young guys, seeing like my age and younger, because I even know like a ton of fresh 18-year-old guys who voted, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And that didn't happen
It
when
didn't.
I graduated high school, right?
Not at all.
I remember the first election, and none of us voted. Nobody cared.
Yeah, no.
And that is completely changed. And I think that it shows you can do something about it. I think if it would have went the other direction, just because it was so heavy towards Trump's side, I think if it would have went the other direction, that would have crushed that belief completely.
Right.
Been like, we can't win no matter what. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the involvement in the belief system behind why our government's set up the way it is kind of cool, and getting people involved. And because I don't think younger people would have had that feeling that they could do something.
And there's a lot of talk. I mean, the way that it has shifted in the atmosphere and politics just in general with the younger generation, and this really does matter, because what we just went through for the last 4 years, some people sat on the sidelines and says, oh, it doesn't matter, right? Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden, the problem is you got to deal with those policies and the outcomes, and your business is going to suffer, right? Your customers are going to suffer. So at the end of the day, you do have to make sure that your voice is heard. But through that shift, and now that everybody does get involved, this younger generation does get involved, who is going to pave the way, politics, I think, has come from row 20 to the first 5 rows now, and most people's ability to focus on. And somebody likened it to this, and they said, man, I feel like these cabinet picks is they said, I feel like it's the NFL draft.
Literally.
Because so many people are paying attention to it now. They're like, oh yeah, we want this one. I didn't have a clue who the hell was. I didn't even know what cabinet picks were.
That's
right, back in the day. And now everybody knows who they are. And they're like, oh yeah, let's get this person in. Let's get this person in the seat. Let's do this. We're going to make change here. I mean, that is incredible to have such a young generation focusing on that.
That's true.
And driving these policy changes. And once we do see what comes out of everything, which I think will be very positive for America, some people aren't going to like everything. I'm probably not going to like everything that comes out of it at some point. But I can probably guarantee I'm going to agree with probably about 90% of what's going to come out of this. And just at the end of the day, when people have that type of understanding that the power is with the people, and that's how our republic was set up, then at the end of the day, you can affect change at your state level that affects change within your business if you want to start it. That means you can have the dream. You can tell your kids it's okay to go start a business, and you're not going to be pancaked within the first 6 months because you're going to be crushed by red tape and regulations all the way through it, right?
Correct.
That's been the key. I mean, talk to our grandparents, man. They'll tell you about starting business. Everybody started businesses. That was the whole point. That's what built America. Was every family had a mechanic shop, or you know, a TV repair shop or something like that. And you didn't have to go through all the regulations and red tape.
Yeah.
And we're finally going to get back to that freedom again, where we can do that as business owners.
Or just like Mike last week, an appliance repair business. His old man.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks ago, I should say, not last week. But
yeah.
No, I agree completely. So I think, I mean, without going any further down any like political rabbit hole, I think that from just the buying aspect from your customers is gonna, for small businesses, especially home service businesses, is gonna be great, because like you said, Jace, who buys? It's the middle class, right? It's your main customer, as it's people in town. It's they're putting in new HVAC systems, they're building a barn door, they're whatever, right? You're doing their electrical, whatever it might be. You're putting a garage door in, whatever it may be. Then obviously I think there's gonna be some breaks in terms of just taxes and other breaks that we can have as business owners, where they're not trying to beat you up so much. And I think just the general direction we're headed in is pretty solid.
Yeah. And even the I honestly truly believe we're going to see tax breaks in your middle class. Now here's the cool thing that I was thinking the other day. We have a middle class and lower income, right? And then we have poverty. And a lot of people say low income is poverty. Well, it used to be back in the day, and it's not. A lot of middle class got shoved into lower income through the last 4 years. So a lot of businesses who did gain middle class customers was more of your higher end type customers who are making that 6 figures or more. It's just that we had to deal with it at a middle class level. Like if you're making $120,000 a year, what do they say? $170,000 a year to buy the average house is what's required now. So what's really great about this is you have gained such a big customer base that yes, you had for temporarily lost some of those other customers that you were servicing quite a bit. That was your middle class. And now you had your separate, that was kind of your middle class, but now going to move into the higher income. You're going to gain back that whole lower class again. That's going to be back into your middle class that can afford it again. And they're going to be coming right back to you. And they've been holding off on trying to get everything taken care of and fixed. But once they start getting those tax breaks and everything starts going back up, and wages, and maybe their husband can finally get back to work again because something is out there, like the manufacturing job pop back up, you're going to gain such a big customer base all over again, because for the last 4 years we've been trying to appeal to different customers and being very creative. That's the one thing about Americans, man. When sometimes they feel like the boot is on their neck, we get very creative on how to survive through it. So
100%.
I think that's it.
Tom, anything else? I know you're mentioning rates and stuff. Anything else that you're seeing or that you see that you think is going to happen in the finance world that people should be aware of before we wrap this thing up?
Well, one of the biggest things is that over the last couple of years, the finance space in general has been very unoptimistic. First payment defaults in general, savings accounts balances going down, credit card debt going up. And so these lenders have just been they've just been a mess because they're so nervous. And with the reduction in the prime rate, or the first point, half a point, and then another quarter point, as that comes down, their optimism is going to rise, and getting everybody back to work, the maids, the dishwashers, getting the United States economy going in the right direction is just going to turn everything to the positive. People are going to be able to afford to make their payments on time. But mostly the lenders are just very nervous because of the economic uncertainty. And so we've already seen one lender, after the 0.5% drop in prime, lower their APRs all 0.5% down. They have a pretty short run lineup, but every one of theirs dropped by 0.5% on the APR. So again, in the grand scheme of things, in the monthly payment scheme, it didn't make a huge difference. But more importantly, it shows that we're going in the right direction.
Yeah,
Correct.
and restrictions. You got to think about the restrictions, right? Banks don't like it on defaults. If you're not making your payments, banks start to say, hey, if I got over a quarter of our customer lending base is defaulting, we're loaning to the wrong people. We need to tighten this up. And that's what they start doing. And then now once people start getting back to work and people can start making their payments again, they loosen those restrictions. And it's that ebb and flow that always happened in when the housing crash took place.
Yeah.
Everybody became a super prime lender, right? Even your subprime lenders are super prime lenders. You needed a 750, no more signature loans. I mean, it was gone. So
And
I
that's
think
where
now it's gonna be good.
that's where we're at right now. In other words, the primes, like the Wells Fargo, the Synchronies, the Green Skies, the Good Leaps, that used to buy down to like, the 630.
Yeah, 630, 640.
And so now they're like, what's considered 700 used to be considered really good credit, and now
Yeah.
it's considered okay credit.
Yeah.
Because
And you can't even get there. And these families can't even get to 700 because you're paying 29% interest rates. I mean, it's so the whole system was upside down. But yeah, I do agree. Now that we're going to start seeing those restrictions, hopefully, or these defaults get lessened,
Yeah.
and money back in the bank, we can get more to lessen the restrictions.
the system has been working against the American population.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
With this optimism that we have now, it's going to start working on for them and
Yeah.
behalf of them, if you will. And I'm beyond excited about what the future holds for. Obviously I'm in the finance space, so I'm optimistic about that. But just everything that you said, both of you, as far as the optimism of the customer, like we're going to be okay now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing how much it's just a chain reaction, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's all tied together, man.
It's all, everything's tied together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the one big thing I think people are noticing at the end. This is my final thought: is we're all connected. At whatever level you want to say that's at, we're all connected. Every business is connected.
Correct.
Your competitors down the street really shouldn't be your competitors. We're all dealing in the same boat. We all just got to get rowing in the same direction, and we'll be all right.
If the boat's sinking, everybody's going down.
Everybody's sinking, man. I hope you can swim.
100%.
There's no jack on the door on this one.
That's exactly right. Cool. All right, guys. Well, we'll hopefully be back in the next one next week. Hopefully we can all get together. We'll talk when we jump off live here. But if you're listening with us, if you're listening after, who knows what we'll connect on this year. There should hopefully, going into 25, we're gonna have hopefully a list of guests every now and then, and it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. But thanks for sticking with us, and we'll see you on the next one. Next one's 29, guys. We're getting close to 30.
29.
What do you do?
See ya.